Hi everyone, today our goal is I can multiply a whole number by a mixed number. For this first problem, I just want you to watch and listen as I solve the problem and share my thinking aloud. Here we have the expression 3 times 2 1/3, and what I want to do is be able to solve this numerically by using the distributive property as well as showing how to solve it with a model. So if you remember with decomposing numbers, we can use the distributive property, so we have 3 times 2 plus 1/3, and using our distributive property we have 3 times 2, which is 6, plus 3 times 1/3, which is 3/3, so 6 plus 3/3 equals 6 plus 1, because 3/3 equals 1, 6 plus 1 equals 7. Let's see if we can prove that thinking using a model. So here we have 2 1/3 represented as a model, and we're going to take that 2 1/3 and multiply it 3 times. So we'll have 2 1/3 3 separate times. So 2 1/3, 2 1/3, and 2 1/3. So now let's see if we solved it correctly numerically. So here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 wholes. That shows us 3 times 2. So we have 3 sets of 2. 2, 4, 6. And then we also have 3 times 1/3, which gives us 1/3, 3 times, 1/3, 1/3, and 1/3. And that matches up to another whole. So 3 times 2 1/3 is, when using the distributive property, gives us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and our 3/3 together also equals 1 whole for 7. For this next problem, I'd like you to solve it along with me in your journals. So here we have 4 times 2 3/4, and I want to rewrite this expression by decomposing the 2 3/4 using the distributive property. So we have 4 times 2 plus 3/4. Now we're going to multiply our whole numbers. 4 times 2, which is 8, and then we multiply our whole number by our fraction of 3/4. 4 times 3/4, which is 12/4. So 8 plus 12/4 equals 8 plus 3, because 12/4 equals 3. 8 plus 3 equals 11. So now let's check our work by representing it in a model. So we know we have 2 3/4, and let's say we've got 2 3/4 candy bars. So we will represent that like this. 2 3/4. Pretty close with a drawing. It doesn't have to be perfect, remember. Now we have 2 3/4, so we have 4 sets of 2 3/4. So 4 times 2 3/4. Let's say we have 4 people. Each person has 2 3/4 candy bars. How many candy bars do we have altogether? So we need to take each person's 2 3/4 candy bars and show them. So take a second and draw 2 3/4 3 more times, because we already have one person's 2 3/4 candy bars. So now we have 2 3/4 4 times. So that gives us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then we have 3/4 4 times as well. When looking at this in model form, the way I'm going to rewrite this to see how many holes we have, because we can see that we have 12/4, 3, 6, 9, 12. I'm going to take this fourth and I'm going to put it over there to make one hole. I'm going to take that fourth and I'm going to add it onto that part to make one hole. And I'm going to take this fourth and I'm going to add it on to those 3/4 to make one more hole. So here we can see that we have 3, 6, 9, 10, 11 wholes. For this last problem, I'd like you to pause the video, solve the problem on your own, using the numerical method as well as showing it in a model, and then come back and check your work. So please evaluate the expression 2 times 2 and 1/3. So first I'll decompose 2 and 1/3 and rewrite my expression 2 times 2 plus 1/3. Now when using the distributive property, remember we basically broke this apart by place value except for it's a fraction. So when you're multiplying, you multiply your number by every place value. So each factor by every place value. So we have 2 times 2, which is 4. Then we have 2 times 1/3, which is 2/3. We add our 4 plus our 2/3 together, and we get 4 and 2/3. So here we've represented 2 and 1/3, and we need to represent that 2 times. So we have 2 and 1/3 plus 2 and 1/3, or 2 and 1/3 times 2, and so that gives us 1, 2, 3, 4 wholes, and we have 1/3 twice, which gives us 2/3, so 4 and 2/3.